if I ever found myself the smartest dude in the room, I'm looking for another room. And that doesn't happen often. You got to live it, right? You can talk it, but live in it. Trusting and empowering. There are so many great ideas out there that exist and they don't get leveraged. They don't get tapped because sometimes leaders don't create that environment to where looking for other alternate ways of solving problems and figuring things out.
You're listening to The Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. I'm Bruno Fallonl. I've spent my 4-decade career in some of the most elite units in the United States Special Operations community, where I learned that elite operators aren't made overnight. They're forged through hardship, discipline, and relentless drive. In each episode, I sit down with the most accomplished and innovative leaders in special operations, industry, coaching, and athletes of all disciplines. Let's jump right in. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Hot Wash podcast by Born Primitive Tactical. I'm still Bruno. They haven't gotten rid of me yet. I got a super cool guest I've been trying to coordinate schedules with for months. Retired Major General Mark O'Neill, but Mark's been a good friend. Mark, welcome.
Bruno, it's great to be here, man. I've been watching it all, been tracking your progress and momentum, and we had some great folks on the podcast, and hopefully I can, kind of grab their coattails and have a great discussion.
Well, I wanted you on this, and people that know us and know where we've served together and all that are probably going to want to hear some real good war porn and all that. We're not going to do that. I wanted you on here because one of the things, like Scott Miller, that I really loved about you at all echelons when you were commanding was the innovation and leadership. So we're going to get there, but that's really the purpose of this, and I think people are really going to dig it. But I want to kind of set the stage. We were talking about this at dinner last night, just, in terms of relevance. Everybody knows I'm a dinosaur. I'm 60 years old, but we figured out last night that we've known each other for 3 decades. Just a quick fun story. I remember walking in a unit that, I was a seasoned guy and all that, and I was looking for the leadership. And it was commanded by a guy named Tony Thomas. It's a legend out there, retired 4-star, and Sam Joseph was a sergeant major. And I needed information. I needed it fast, and I couldn't get it. And there was this new face I'd never seen. And I walked up and I'm like, "Who are you?" And you're like, "Mark O'Neill, I'm the OPSO." I'm like, "OPSO, you can probably tell me what I want." And I was hoping to get splinters, and you laid out the plan of what we were doing. Like, obviously you had your hands knee deep in it and orchestrated. I'm like, Mark O'Neill, I like this guy. And man, I watched you rise up and command at multiple levels at that unit and then get some stars on you. And every time we crossed paths, whether it was overseas, whatever, you were doing great shit. So I'm excited to have you here. Nobody knows outside this room how much our schedules never met until this moment. I think I asked you to come on here like 4 or 5 months ago.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
No, I'm honored to be here. This is great. Great to reconnect. Of course, my journey was never just by myself. I was blessed to have great bosses and great leaders that just for some crazy reason found something they wanted to invest in me. So yeah, blessed to have a lot of advocates across the way. Don't know how, don't know why, but it's worked out pretty well. And now it's trying to find ways to just kind of share some of those life experiences and those lessons in their continued journey in life to make them better.
One of the things, and to kind of jump into one of the reasons I really wanted you on here is, people ask me now, like, how am I able to do what I do at Born Primitive? And it's not just being in that, JSOC SOF community for 40 years. People had to teach me how to network and have that ability and make relationships. And to be honest with you, 4 names really come to mind. You, Scott Miller, Stan McChrystal, and Mitch Bradley, who's now the SOCOM commander. Watching you guys at very senior levels, and what we used to call it in our business was interagency work. watching you work across the spectrum of all the government agencies to support the DoD mission was eye opening for me. And I don't think a lot of guys get that. I don't think that people get that that is what really translates to private sector is team building and being able to take maybe somebody that doesn't belong to have a seat at the table and put them at the table and empower them. But I learned that from guys like you, and I can tell you that the leadership and mentorship that I provide now to people is coming from guys like you. And I don't know when you in your career saw that this was the way to go, but you're definitely one of the guys that did it. So, I mean, can you kind of talk about how that light came on and maybe who gave it to you? And because you were very good at it.
I mean, I try to be I try to learn along the way and still continue to learn along the way by a lot of those, great friends and mentors that invested in me. And, I kind of was on the sidelines or on the, the backside and seeing some of these interactions and just seeing some of these tough situations and how these leaders would leverage the talent around them, open the communication lines, collaborate to collectively solve problems. And versus the default setting, oh, we're just going to default to the green machine, and just collaborating, communicating, and just maybe discussing other courses of action or other avenues of approach, to solve a problem or to fix things. And you mentioned, General McChrystal, of course, then, Scott Miller. I mean, it was like a living laboratory. And why not reinforce and build upon, what those relationships were built? And I just saw what right looked like. And just being good to people and investing in people and letting them have a say, that was just powerful. And I don't know, I guess I've had multiple aha moments along the way, and
But they're all teaching points to us, right?
they were all teaching points.
Right.
I used to, back, old school. You run around with the old notebook, front side. Hey, great after action reviews, good things to do, the right things to do, and then on the back of the book, on the back side is like,
The ugly.
don't be that guy.
No.
This did not work out,
Yeah.
and that stuff's just mattered, and to me it resonated. And I kind of go back and we talked about it last night. When I transitioned out of the military, my big four, and now I kind of modified it to a fifth. It originally was lead, share, adapt, and grow. But if you're a leader, you're always learning. And so it's now, lead, learn, share, adapt, and grow. And we're obligated, I'm just personally obligated because we're, wired similar. There's always somebody smarter that's out there that can inform you to help you make better decisions. And, I've seen ignorant people in the past, and shame on them. And I just didn't want to be like that.
No, it's a foundation of team building, especially at the levels you commanded at. That if you can't bring all the people to the table and get the best out of them, you're not going to be effective, right? One of the things that we talked about, and we talked about it actually on the drive even in this morning, was people that stop being willing to learn. They just you're never the smartest guy in the room, and we've all met those people. Once you become the self-proclaimed smartest guy in the room, you're failing as a leader. There's always somebody that knows something more than you, and I will take that to the grave. That I think good leadership and military leadership and private sector leadership have some nuances, but they can be used the same way. To me, I always take my people and say, what's the solution? Now, once I have decided what that solution is going to be and I smack the table, that's the plan of action. That's what we're doing because I'm in charge. But up until that point, I literally everybody has a vote. Let's get to the best course of action.
Love that.
And you know, the only time I will say that doesn't work, and unless you're, you know, a first responder on a SWAT team or hitting a precision target, is and that's why you have SOPs, is when time becomes an issue where you don't have that ability, where it's we're doing this. And that's hopefully where you've built your team out so well that everybody knows, hey, this is the situation. Boom, here's the plan. Let's go. There's, you know, in the military, there's not a question of that.
Right.
In the private sector, you know, it again, it depends on what you're doing, but absolutely in some of the first responder police fields, that holds true. And you no longer have a vote. You're, you know, get in formation.
Yeah. It's battle drills. It's immediate action. You made a point, and I love it because I use it. And it's, if I ever found myself the smartest dude in the room, I'm looking for another room, and that doesn't happen often. Not me, I didn't, needing to go to another room, but trying to find myself to be smartest dude in the room. I love the idea of just, and you got to live it, right? You can talk it, but living it, trusting and empowering. And there are so many great ideas out there that exist, and they don't get leveraged. They don't get
Right.
tapped because sometimes leaders don't create that environment to where looking for other alternate ways of solving problems and figuring things out.
Right. Yeah.
Powerful.
It's very powerful. And you have to provide an environment that allows people to feel they can open their mouth. Um, you know, one of the things that, and I see it here at Born Primitive, is I bring my team together a lot, um, probably more than any other facet of the company. And it's because I love brainstorming. And then the other piece of it is I love mentorship. So I may have a call with somebody overseas that I only need to be the only person to call. I may bring 4 junior leaders in just to sit in this call so they experience how I handle this situation in the call. And then when the call's over, I debrief the call. I'm like, let me explain to you why I said what I said and what I did. And they learn from it. And then guess what? I find myself with those 4 people in the room. Like I specifically have one, my operations manager, Emma. I don't have to take those calls anymore. She sat in enough of those meetings where I'm like, Emma, can you take this? And she comes up to me later and she's like, yeah, we're not going to work with these people, or hey, we need to follow up. And that's effective leadership, right? So that is something that you, again, were very good at, is developing your subordinates. And people, if you don't realize this, when you come out of the National Mission Force, if you don't think that you're always developing your people, everybody's a rock star, but that's what leaders do, right? Get them ready for the next level of, whether it's as an officer as command, or whether, you know, it's as a enlisted, is it's basically to become the next level tactical expert in ownership of, you know, a unit. If you stop training your people below you, you're ineffective.
You're investing in people. What a concept, right? I look back at, and I've seen this because I've done some ride-alongs with senior leaders, and Crystal, Scott Miller, and literally just I mean, the wise folks kind of consume the things that actually work, and you see. I mean, it was powerful. I remember going down, on Fridays, briefing the multinational force Iraq, 4-star general and its various staff, and it was kind of wow. You have all these leaders at all different levels and all these general officers on this long linear table, and we'd go down there on Fridays, and I backseated um, Miller multiple occasions, and when I had the opportunity, similar to him, brought along some of those junior analysts and junior operations officers so they could actually hear and see some of the strategic and operational challenges that you wouldn't see from your joint operations center, working out of 24/7, if you will. Just the exposure, and you're also highlighting the talent that you have amongst your team, especially at the junior leader level. And I just found that just so powerful. But that wasn't me just figuring it out. I just saw what right looked like, and I tried to, replicate it as as I went forward.
One of the discussions we had at dinner last night, was we talked about, in the military side of the house, you can go on an op, and depending on the level you served at, uh, you might not even understand a smidge of the whole picture of what's going on. I just remember a lot of times where as a very senior flight lead and you at the levels you were commanding different organizations, it would be maybe you and your sergeant major and me and my CO, and we'd be in there with the CG and his staff, and we're getting the whole picture on what the interagency work is, on what the background is, on the why. And then we're actually putting together with the next group of people all the assets that are to support this. And then we would get down to the tactical level and talk about, I'm going to land here, we're going to do actions. And that's what a lot of the guys only know is that little small piece of the pie. I don't think if you never sat in the rooms where you knew the full background, the full why, you don't have the complete picture. And to me, being fortunate by the way our unit was structured and the position I was in, I got to sit in quite a bit of those, and it really opened my eye to the whole point of sometimes being on the X is not the focal point. And it's crazy because in business, it's the same way. Man, a relationship that can promise tomorrow that doesn't pay today, it's gold, right?
Sure.
So, I mean, and you're one of those guys. I think it's funny. We're both one of these guys that I could call you and be like, "Hey, do you know it's somebody in Border Patrol Tucson?" And your answer is going to be no, but I will by tomorrow.
Yep.
And I love that because you have that network. So, I mean, can you kind of just talk about like how once you have a network and you keep it, how you keep like how do you keep the relation? Because it's tough, right? It's
It
tough.
is tough, and marriage, relationships, etc. They need caring and feeding, and I would never, break out my iPhone and just I got s- all over the map with contacts from various folks, whatever. Just got to stay in touch with people, right? I mean, they were important to you at one point in time, and shame on you if you're not kind of caring and feeding and watering that. I mean, just building these personal relationships. If you do it right, I mean, it takes time. It's exhausting. I'm in between, flights, flying here, right? Austin down to Nashville and Nashville up to Norfolk. Got a couple hours at the airport. I'm like, hey, who haven't I talked to and checked in? Lately? I'm making those calls. Made a couple of those yesterday,
Yep.
and it was just, hey, reconnecting. Hey, how you doing? How's things going?
Buddy check. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, but you just checking in. We all, I mean, there's everyone has, not drama, but challenges or anxiety, the holidays. I mean, buddy checks are critical.
I
You haven't
agree.
checked with
Especially
somebody.
especially in our business, I say our business, but honestly, the more I learn, the more I know about what first responders, cops, 911 dispatchers, people in emergency. Check your buddy. People that are in these jobs that are seeing some pretty ugly shit every day, check your buddy.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I mean, yeah, buddy checks. Just again, I mean, we all have our various levels of stressors in our lives. Um, some folks, transition out of the military. What are you going to do next? Hopefully, folks are kind of sharing different experiences, lessons learned, to give them a better step forward that maybe you were exposed to. I
right.
think we owe that, right? And that's just caring and giving a caring for your people.
Yeah, one of the things I'll say for anybody listening, I think the biggest way you can keep a relationship, even if you're silent for a while, is if you haven't talked to anybody in a long time, the first time you call them is not because you need something. I'll tell you, we all have them.
So true.
We all have them where we know when we see that caller ID, they need something. Because the only time they call me is when they need something. I'll tell you, if you want a true relationship, don't be that person because I treat those people different than I treat everybody else. It's like, it's the what do you need now?
Right.
So that's my only pearl of wisdom on that one. One of the things that you and I talked about a little bit at dinner last night, and I think it starts all the way at the youth age. I mean, we're talking about our sons, and we're talking about, we both know guys out there that have kids that are not very productive. And when we sit back and we look, almost every single one of these boys or girls was never entered into any kind of program, whether it's, high level high school sports or Brazilian jiu jitsu, anything with a disciplinary, held accountable, team building function. It seems like almost all the youth that we can talk about on that, when you look at our entire past, our whole structure was built on discipline, teamwork, and structure. So, I mean, can you kind of talk to that about how, I don't care if it's in the civilian workplace, if it's in the military, it doesn't matter where it is, but to me, discipline and structure and teamwork really are a foundation for making a person productive.
I mean, just going back to team sports, growing up, and you have responsibilities, you have an obligation. Now, we have lots of folks going to college and bouncing around to all, college here for 1 year, college here for that year. And hey, that's something, I really don't want to talk about.
The NIL?
Yeah. But, having an opportunity to play, college football for 4 years at one place and, hey, listen, I had to go ahead and fight my way, had to show my commitment. I had to be disciplined and obligated to be in the gym, try to put on weight, but also knock a tenth of, off your 40 each and every year. And, the big three back there in the day is, power clean, squats, and bench press. Right now, my God, we've evolved that concept in so many better ways and different programs. But you built these relationships. You saw your teammates that may have lagging behind a little bit, or I mean, you're having these conversations. You're holding each other accountable, and the magic is when that translates and that all of a sudden turns into now you're playing, you're ramping up, on a weekly basis to the next opponent, and you're winning some games. Or hey, you lost a close football game, but you go back and hey, what went right? What went wrong? How do we make it better? I mean, I just I've actually asked this question a couple of times since retired now 6 years, helping out with a little bit of talent management, kind of vetting some folks, applying for various jobs. And I've asked them, just have you grown up playing team sports or individual sports? And it matters to me because the value in those experiences, being disciplined, being committed, to knowing it's bigger than you. Um, yeah, I mean, I've just seen it and lived it. We talked a little bit about the strains and stresses, kind of, pre and post 9/11, more, post 9/11 of the stresses on families, right? So we went ahead and started addressing some of that. We actually, sharing with you, went out to Western North Carolina and had an opportunity with a bunch of dads and their sons for this camp for a few days. It was a forcing function. It was actually great. I wish I knew I could rattle off the gentleman's name in the program, but the acronym was BAM, right? So we'd all get together, and BAM was becoming a man, and maybe I didn't have the open dialogue that I dreamed of or desired or maybe grew up with. But the setting and this protocol and their curriculum forced you to, get together. You're with the other dads and your, the sons, and you're doing, team sports and little friendly, healthy competition. But then there's these breakout sessions to where now it's one on one with you and your kid. And got a little program. We ask each other questions, get an opportunity to kind of write down the responses. It was a force and function just to get that communication going.
Right.
It was really kind of, you know, a platform to, a springboard, kind of reset your lives and kind of make it a little more productive and healthy for the collective family. So anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. I loved it. It sure as heck helped the relationship with myself and my youngest son. And I wish we actually had it earlier on. And my oldest son, would have had an opportunity to make it too. But I learned from that, and we got some good dialogue between both boys. That's important.
It's hugely important. One of the things that I feel the reason my team is so successful here at Born Primitive is we run that collaborative team environment. And I've got a mix on my team. I've got got some former SEALs that are retired. I've got firefighters. I've got former SWAT people. I've got people I've hired from within the industry that are experts. Every single one of them, we just did their annual reviews, has told me they've never been in a place outside their former past in their military or law enforcement elite teams where they've had this feeling, and they like coming to work. And I mean, dude, we sell apparel. It's not like we're building spaceships here or something, but they like coming to work. They like the mission, and we make it fun because we are selling tactical and hunting apparel. So we do take our people hunting and shooting and doing things to make sure they understand what we're building this for the war fighter, the firefighter, the police officer. But essence is the team environment. They enjoy it. And I talk to other guys that are out there in the private sector, and they have never had a social meeting with any of their coworkers outside of work. They don't know any of their spouses' names. And I'm like, well, that's not a team. That's a place of employment. That's where you punch a clock. And again, anybody that's listened, if there's ways to keep people working. And the ways to keep people working does involve happiness. And happiness is not always a dollar sign. Trust me, people are motivated by money. We all know that. But I will tell you, if they enjoy coming to work, you can actually have an environment that people will work for less money at a job than go chase a buck to leave and jump into a frying pan. I know you see that all the time.
No, well, I mean, I actually, kind of an outsider looking in, and had some views behind the curtain or whatever with you and your team. I just think it's awesome. I mean, I just different events and seeing how folks are just happy and empowered, and they just want to continue to make a difference. For the consumer, for the customers, but also for themselves. And it's a pretty cool extended family you've built,
It
and you
is,
have.
and we actually extend that to our partner businesses, and that's something we've talked about it. And some of our strongest bonds are like Sons of Liberty Gunwork, Huxworth Suppressors, Gators Eyewear. Um, and it's funny because they all have different origins as to why. Gators was clear and simple. That's all we wore overseas. Very durable, metal
Yeah.
frame, not a plastic glass. Ballistic eye protection. You can skydive in it. You can be outside on a helicopter on it. It was a no-brainer for me. And they have our ethos, which is very important to me. Some of these products didn't exist when you and I were going to war. Huxworth suppressors and Sons of Liberty gunwork, I've never fired overseas, but they've built a better mousetrap and they have the same ethos we do. And when we sit down at a table with a brand like that, and we're like, how can we work together? Not how can I make you better? How can I make me better? How can we be better together? And when we have a plan that aligns, it's an extension of the company. And it's kind of funny because I have zero marketing background. I have not gone to school for it. I've never worked at it. But the reason people are coming to Born Primitive right now is the way we market. And we market cross functional across the brands. And what is that? That's interagency, right?
Yeah,
That's what we
yeah,
started with.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the power of combinations,
Right.
right? I mean, and the credibility that each and every one of y'all bring to. I mean, it's just it's a powerful enterprise that just continues to grow and expand. And I mean, that's pretty neat. I mean, just seeing it, watching it, and you're listening to the feedback and the customers and having the ability to innovate and change and then deliver to what the need is.
Yeah, well, we're the one thing that's good, and this is now speaking at your level, and I just had this conversation with Clay Huntmacher over lunch recently, who sits on a bunch of big boards and's got a experience to operate at the level you did in commanding. We're at a point right now where I have to be very careful who I bring into the wheelhouse because we're a shiny object, and I'll tell you, nothing I like at my level, I really we call it decentralizing command. I really push stuff down to my people and let them make decisions. But there's two things that I hold near and dear is business partnerships and new ambassadors. I am the final approval authority on all because they represent us.
Sure.
And we're having our door knocked down on people that want to be part of this brand right now. And it's got to be for the right reason. It's got to be for the right ethos. And I treat my ambassadors like family. And to me, what I don't need is 100 ambassadors to spread the word of the brand. I need what I have right now, which is like 15 really elite ambassadors that were handpicked that are like family to us, and that's enough for me. I don't need an army of people because we're able to do that through electronic means.
Right.
Um, I don't know if all brands are doing stuff like that. I don't know if they treat I am
The wise ones would or should. That's from my perspective, because just seeing kind of what right looks like and the successes. And I mean, I will never wear, you know, a tire that is made up of 100% cotton. That's just me.
right.
From a human performance standpoint, to listening to what's needed, living it, having the talent you have amongst your ambassadors and across your entire team. I mean, it's just, I got to pinch myself. This is pretty cool.
It is cool, but it again, it comes from well, I mean, it comes from what was started here, which was way before me, which is our co-founders and the ethos they have, and they let me run with it. But I honestly think it's a statement of the brand. What Bear and Mallory have built here on the fitness side, and they've empowered me to take to the we call it outdoor, but it's really the hunting slash outdoor and the tactical side is an extension of our fitness side. It really is. And we're really the 2026 focus for this brand as we release a lot of really cool new products, new footwear, things like that, is to try and align the tactical, the outdoor, and the fitness brand, and for what it's worth too, our footwear into one brand. Like it's not four separate brands. It is one brand. And we want everybody to know that. And that's a difficult thing because not every one of our customers shops across the spectrum, but boy, you'd be surprised how many do.
Sure.
I have SWAT teams or hunters coming in, and the next thing I know, they're working out in our stuff. They're active leisure. I think one of the best secrets we have is we probably build the best travel clothes there is. I mean, the stuff because it's built for human performance and comfort. Like as much as I do, as much time as we spend in airplanes and airports and all that kind of stuff. That shit
Yeah, that sure does.
matters.
It sure does.
Yeah, man. So let me ask you, coming off of Born Primitive and going back to you, I mean, you sit out, you advise, and you do some really high level executive stuff and things like that. In your optic, a brand like ours and other brands with the ethos, momentum we're having and everything right now, I mean, what's your pearls of wisdom to us, stuff that you can pass to us?
I mean, you're open for feedback. Um, you all have just, you know, problem solvers and very creative people. I mean, you've you figured it out, from my perspective. And I just say keep doing that. Hopefully, folks from the outside are making their own evaluation, their own assessment, and just kind of buy through with um, their changing their approaches to be, better version or a better company. I mean, I think you're living all that we've lived and seen all the successes with, you know, interagency, building relationships, collaboration. You need that feedback. You need that, do loop of, hey, I'm providing a great product. I think we're all saying it to one another, but when you're getting the great feedback from your customers, for the folks that you bring on in here. I'm leaving out of here today with a pair of those jeans,
I know.
and I'm excited to be able to wear those and travel with those because I've heard so much about them. I'm excited. I think you've. I mean, you never want to go ahead and say, "I got it." Um, you have an approach. We've talked about it last night. Talking about it here. Just cycle of learning is
It
continuous.
never stops, right?
And but you know, you guys are passionate, hungry, driven, and that matters. And it's not stagnant. I mean, you're interact. I mean, just you create the environment to where you're welcoming. And I think some folks do it better than others, and you guys are kind of leading the way of kind of what right looks like. And that's powerful. And hope. I mean, that's a compliment.
No, no, I get it,
Um,
and I appreciate it, and I absolutely always, I value the feedback more than you know, and my big thing is I don't want to come off the gas. It's one of those where we have momentum. The last thing we can do is not feed the fire. So, and we're supported by doing that right now. But there is, it's an interesting dynamic because what we do know is that most apparel brands have been down recently, and we're not, and we're we're being cautious of what could come, but we're not coming off the gas because as long as the customer is saying, I want this, we're gonna build this. And the biggest thing I told my team, I mean, honestly, the it's a running joke within the company. Born Primitive Maine is really quickly becoming a footwear company because the footwear is blowing up. The Savage One trainer, now the new Savage One high top, some of the things that are coming out this year. The we just added a warehouse because of footwear because we have to get more in stock because of the demand. On our side of the house, we call the tactical and outdoor company. We're a pants company, and the reason I say that is our Opasalt pant and our hunting pants, our Frontier and our Frontier Light 2.0, same thing. We have we have made the right pant. You know, we have a lot of other great stuff, but everybody that calls us wants the pants, wants the pants, wants the pants. And I'm like, y'all realize that if we are sitting here in 3 years and we're still offering just that pant, going to be other people making this pant. We have to look at what is the next
yeah.
pant. What do we need to do? What why are we okay, we put human performance in it, the right materials, the right everything, but what's our next step? And that's where I challenge my people right now.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, sitting here right now, I don't know what that next step would be, could be, should be, um, but they'll figure it out. And
I think we have. We're just not going to tell anybody till it's ready.
yeah, well, no, I mean, and that's magic.
Yeah, it is.
But some folks just, I've seen are just, it's what we got, is what it is. But I think that's very short sighted and it's not going to have a successful brand or a business if you're not accepting and receiving feedback and then what's on that next terrain feature, what's over the horizon.
Right.
um yeah, I mean, it's kind of that virtual R&D that constantly, we're wired, right? Because we're always trying to figure out what's next. And I mean, um yeah, I guess I would just tell people just never be satisfied where you're at. Always ways to get better and improve and
That goes with everything,
push the
right?
team. I mean, push yourself.
That goes with everything. There's no question. You and I are having the conversation about shooting. I'm so excited to be shooting with some of the folks I'm going to be shooting with next week. But Dan Horner's leading the charge with what we're going to be doing. And I don't care how good you are. When you get with a guy like Dan, you're getting better. You're
Exactly,
getting better.
for
And
sure.
if that doesn't excite you, I mean, to take something you're good at and know that in a couple of days you're even gonna be better. I mean, that to me is everything. So, um,
That should be our daily challenge. And then having the opportunity again, and
yeah,
or others like him, always opportunity to improve and get better.
and that's part of learning, right? That we
Exactly.
keep circling back to. So I'm gonna totally do a 90-degree azimuth change on here. In your career, how many total years did you serve?
33 years
33
and
years.
some change, but
So,
33
so
years.
I'm going to say, I'm going to give you the question and I'm going to talk about 33 years to give you some time to think. Um, two things I want to ask you. One, two things that we can talk about on this podcast. Your most memorable moment that you had in command that you're willing to share. And then I want to hear from you because I have some in my mind, something that a very influential leader did that either you witnessed or were the recipient of or whatever that you said it was an eye opener and a career changer for you. And an example I'll give you is early Afghanistan with me uh, when General Daly left and General McChrystal came in and we changed how we were prosecuting targets. It set shockwaves through the community, and then we all realized 2 weeks into it, it was the right answer. But it was one of those things that you're initially like, whoa. And then,
Mm.
so anyhow, I want you to think about that. But I want to bring up the 33 years because I just had this conversation with someone that's getting ready to retire out of the fire service with almost 3 decades. And, you know, I have 4 decades, 10 of it as a civilian in the game. And it's not the years, it's the mileage. It is what you have been put your body through. I don't think anybody has never been in the, National Mission Force, JSOC community can understand how hard you go for how long. We're talking about back to back to back to back deployments and what you would do when you weren't on deployment last night at dinner. And you sit back and you think about your average person that I'm 60, your average person that's worked their whole adult life has probably 20% of the mileage on their body and brain that I have. But I honestly think that the brain is the healthy side of it because you're always the body's the bad side.
Right, right.
But anyhow, back to you. Either one of those questions or anything you want to say on the mileage thing. We can go anywhere you want in that. But these are pearls of wisdom to me, like what really influenced you in your career, what was game changers in your career. I always want to hear stuff like that because you were very successful and you did it a very long time.
For me, being a commissioned officer, early on in career, some folks get it, and folks get it later in life or in their career or whatnot. Just the power of the non-commissioned officers, and I don't know, I just learned early on to trust and empower and build these relationships, and I just was fortunate to just feed and water those relationships at different points in my career, and then sitting in levels of command positions. That was powerful, and of course you're always holding people accountable. I mean, basically you're delegating responsibility down to subordinate leaders because you're trying to teach them, trying to help them learn. um, and I'll own those outcomes. Now, successful, hey, it's all on them. But hey, if it goes south, hey, I was the delegator, right? I empowered them. I'll own it. And just having their backs and just building that trust and that, I mean, really, really deep, thick relationships. It just goes a long way. And, I had, you know, senior non-commissioned officers invest in me. And I just kind of, it was to me what right looked like. Just, not doing this, up there at the corporate world, and it's all just, leaders talking to leaders, but, getting down there, mixing it up, having these shared experiences, exposing yourself to the good, the bad, and the ugly that they're going through and dealing with. I mean, that matters. I mean, just through the hard times.
Right.
Hey, it's awesome to go ahead and celebrate the good times. But if you're out there, embracing the suck with them, demonstrating your commitment, um, that was pretty powerful. So just the relationships with team and trusting and empowering uh, your junior leaders. You don't realize it, but I've seen it kind of go around. It's actually pretty cool, pretty exciting now. To the folks that I actually brought into or went out there to try to spot and assess talent and hire and get them to assess, and seeing what they're doing now, still serving
Right.
at levels well beyond me. Oh my God, I just love it. It's just it's warmth. It's rewarding to me to see. Um,
A development, right? I mean,
I mean, it's just my wildest dreams. I mean, I got to pinch myself periodically of just seeing some of the folks that took the time, you made mistakes with, um, you've given the benefit of the doubt, given second chances, which I think is very, very powerful. Um, you know, I'm not a revisionist. I'm not a perfect person. I've, broke some glass here and there and, made some mistakes along the way, but I had bosses, I had leaders, um, that saw something and gave me opportunities for second chances to figure it out. And, you know, I was raised by giants, and they come in all walks of life. And I think that's really, really powerful. So kind of merged a couple of things. I'll give you one.
one thing I want to say, you said something about leadership there that I hope people heard. You said that the people you delegated responsibility to, you let them celebrate the victory, but you took the faults. That's huge. Like, hey, you did a great job. We're going to praise you because you were the point on this. Hey, you did a bad job. Guess what? You were under my watch. I'll take this. And that is something that I think is huge and people don't get, is that you don't always just take the good, you take the bad.
And then hey, you take the bad, but hey, what did we learn from it?
Yeah,
As
you
long as it wasn't,
absolutely.
illegal, immoral, and unethical, we learned from it and we become just better for it.
People need, you know, this is again, we come from a community that prided itself on the no fail mission. But as a senior leader, you know, at the point of when you're getting near failure, you're allowed to let people fail at tasks to train them and correct them and guide them. And if you don't sometimes let them go that far, it'll never get. I'll give you an example. I was taught this when I was becoming an instructor pilot in the 160th. Uh, the guy I was working with was just a legend, and I asked him, I'm like, because not to pat myself on the back, but I was a very good pilot, a very good aviator.
Damn good pilot.
And I used to ask him, I'd be like, well, how far do you let a guy go? And he goes, here's what's going to surprise you. He's like, they're going to scare themselves before they scare you because of the level you're at. So let them go until they scare themselves and then come on the controls and show them how it's supposed to be in a controlled manner. Don't ever let it go to the point where it scares you. And I'm like, got it. I thought those were pearls of wisdom,
That's
right?
great. Yeah, great
Yeah. So
counsel.
so I used to, yeah, I would see these guys, you're doing a task like night vision goggle, area refueling in turbulence, and it's fucking dangerous. And you're seeing them, you look over and you're seeing the sweat pump off this person, and you're like, they're trying to get on the hose. And you just come on the controls nicely and plug and put it on up there and you talk to them. You're like, this is not that hard. And you just bring that tension level down. The next thing you know, they're doing it. You know what I mean? So I saw it on the range, in guys in the kill house, working on CQB. if the right person or with the right temperament can take somebody and let them go to where they think they're failing and bring them back.
No, I thought well, that's great counsel. Um, and staying calm
Yeah.
uh, in stressful, challenging scenarios. There's enough, like, what you didn't need to do is come back on, seeing the sweat coming down and the grips getting a little tighter, and all of a sudden coming up on the net and like, staying calm, just staying cool, working it out. And what people don't realize often is, I mean, everyone's looking, everyone's waiting to see how you're going to act to different situations, and you're setting the tone. So, um,
I mean, just think about this is kind of funny because we both ended up, we're in organizations where we didn't have a lot of junior people, but we would have some new guys come in. And just think about when we were on really hard targets that were erupting and a big two-way gunfight going on, and the calm leader, it's like, this is what we're doing. And the boys just roll and we go versus the person that is on edge. And now everybody's on edge. Um, I didn't s- I didn't see it much where we operated at, but I did see it when I would go fly the white side, and it was eye opening for me. And I was like, "Hey, man, calm down. We've been shot at a lot. It's okay. We'll be fine. We'll get out of this." But it's one of those to me again, a calm demeanor in a stressful situation. Look at great NFL coaches. Even look at really really world champion BJJ guys when the really bad things are going on, if they can take a wrap off and be level headed and be calm, you're gonna win.
yeah, no, great point. But they just they they prepared themselves. Um, we've done some pretty tough, realistic training to replicate the best we possibly could before we got into a two-way gunfight. Um, but having those stressors and post-op, after action review, all right, let's go. Then maybe you find someone that was a little tense. Then hey, let's have a conversation. And they're just going to be better prepared for when it even matters more.
That's right.
And I don't, me personally, I was always trying to get ahead or mentally wargaming contingencies before things happen. And I found that to help me, um, be prepared to that immediate reaction. So, I mean, nothing ever came to a surprise to me, right? I mean, I don't, nothing really surprises me because I mean, your brain's always working and always engaged,
Yeah, and you've been
thinking,
doing it a long time.
yeah,
So you're right. I mean, when something comes to our plate, it's funny when it gets served up to you too. Like you're not going to believe this, and
right,
they deliver it to you, and you're like, "This is the fifth time I've heard this."
right,
It's just a different person,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
But now you get the person that hasn't had those
Right.
experiences, personal or been in similar situations and scenarios, and all of a sudden now they go high and right, and
Yeah, and that's something. It's funny, and for those listening that don't come from a shooting background, high and right is something to us that means that they basically have self imploded. But you're right, and nothing from our community will have you lose credibility faster than going high and right, especially in front of people. Like once you lose that, it's hard to get it back, man. You gotta work so hard to get it back. So again, as a leader, um,
you may never get it back.
you may never get it back. Depends on the situation. You do it at the wrong place, wrong time with the wrong group of people, that just became your legend. So I always, it there's so many rules I have that I have taken from what we have learned from our business and applied them to business. I'll give you an example. I tell every one of my folks here, never, ever, ever send a hot email. Um, if you have to, if you have words for somebody, it needs to be in person or on the phone, but don't ever put it on an email because the email never goes away. Oh, by the way, if you're going to send an email that is targeting and hot, maybe go have lunch and let it sit for 3 hours and then come back and look at it. Because you remove the emotion, right? And if you need to have emotion in it, man, it needs to be personal.
Just had that same conversation with an opportunity. We mentioned mutual friend Gino Peluso
Yep.
last night at dinner, and so had a group of um, clients and part of his team out earlier this week. Got to spend some time, and actually, I shared that the stresses, challenges, and the emotions, and breathe. Don't send a hot email. Um, you know, Pause, take a breath, think it through, um, but don't be a leader with high end emotions where those emotions are not in a positive. And that's so pretty cool. I mean, that was what you were just saying that. I shared a little, different experiences
But
with.
it's true, right? I
It's
mean,
oh my god,
it is true. And
sure is.
the biggest thing I see is, I hate to say it, but it's with typically with younger leaders that were accelerated too fast. Um, I just think with time comes, I'll use the word poise. I think with time and experience, people learn, hey, if I'm going to explode, it's going to be you two in my office. It's not going to be in front of the whole office, and I'll tell you, I've had to catch myself here in the private sector a few times where, and it's kind of funny too, because I have had a couple incidents here at BP that were perceived as me losing my cool. And if they only knew,
What?
my demeanor actually was me being contained for the situation and just vocalizing displeasure, versus if I'd been in a fucking team room from where we came from, how I would have handled the situation.
Sure.
So yeah, and to be honest with you, we have such good people around here. I was pulled aside and I was like, you know what, got it. This is private sector, blah blah blah. And I didn't even try and defend myself. I'm like, got it, move on. And I decided at that point in time, like, I know in business, if I ever need to be my real self, my military self, it's going to be one on one with somebody in a private room. Well, again, because of the new rules and all that, there'll be a third party to witness what actually happens.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just having that person that could. I mean, again, open air, blah 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 blah. This emotion and passion, and God, man, back and like, should have, could have, would have, probably done a little better. But having a good teammate, right, or battle buddy is, your command sergeant major, and you're the commander. Hopefully you have this great relationship to where sharing and venting to one another before all of a sudden just,
Two different pages.
yeah.
Yeah.
One thing, I kind of talk to junior leaders or, folks that I've interacted with, and this is, you know, kind of, I love, passionate, hungry human beings. Um, but I'm also a big fan of them that have realized how to, kind of manage expectations. And that an individual first lieutenant, he's just trying to find a way how he's trying to lay out his path to become a general officer. And I'm like, kind of took me back.
Like on the place you're at right now.
Yeah, just yeah, embrace what you currently have,
Yeah.
make it the best, phenomenal, formation, invest in your people, take care of each other, be there in hard times. Um, yeah, so and I don't know, maybe you've seen that in, out there in the, business world. Is I think it matters. I mean, there's ladders, there's stepping stones. Some folks will get there faster than others, but the folks that are just, you know, are hungry also maybe haven't managed their expectations, and they're miserable because they want to go ahead and just, be at these certain levels. And sometimes you just gotta, hey, I want to be a, Brazilian, black belt in jiu-jitsu over time. Okay. I'll be 62 in June. I'm rusty as hell. Um, I got my blue belt. I got to find the time to, work your way up there. It's not going to be gifted. You got to earn your stripes.
Right.
And there's no little power play to advance and bound ahead in that journey
Right.
without putting the time and effort and work, proving your credibility, right? Maintaining your credibility.
No, that's gold. Some of the people that I've sat with on interviews for a job, hiring at the coordinator position, are telling me how they want to be a director at the company. And I'm like, I'm interviewing you to be a coordinator. There's a lot of steps in between there and there. Let's talk about the job I'm interviewing you for. It's great you got a vision. And when you're an employee here and you're a manager and you're telling me you want to be a director, I love that. But let's attack what the formation is in front of us. And it's kind of cool because the team that I've built, I just did all their annual reviews, and every single one of them are concerned about what is in their foxhole right now. What are they doing today to make tomorrow better? And none of them came up to me or asking for a promotion because they know I'll promote them when they're ready. I just promoted one of my guys who didn't see it coming, and he so earned it. This was a SWAT sergeant that we brought in as a coordinator, and he's now my national law enforcement sales manager. And he runs SHOT Show for me. He runs all the guy's crushing it. I mean, he's good. My operations manager, she's crushing it. All these people were hired to be coordinators and grew from within. And that's something we do in the soft community, right? You met Tim earlier. He's been in the industry 23 years. I brought him in for a reason. He brings something I can't grow from within. I needed to touch outside and pull that guy in. But if you ask me if I have 5 senior leader billets that are going to be created over the next 2 years, I bet you 4 of them are created from within. I'm going to grow my people. You saw it. You saw it everywhere. You see it in the Rangers. You see it in every tier one unit. Like guys, basically, when they report to these units, start over. You're the fucking new guy.
That's right.
And it's hard to swallow, you coming in as a very accomplished whatever that were God at your last unit, and now you're the fucking new guy. And you better prove yourself and you got to rework through the chain.
Each and
So
every day.
each and every day. And God bless, I hate to say it, but God bless the guys on the Navy side because at least the Army side keeps promoting the guys along with their peers. The Navy guys, because they start over when they get to the National Mission Force, are not getting the same paperwork that the white side guys are getting. So they go to the most elite unit out there and they get promoted behind their peers because they're the new guy and getting graded as the new guy. It's a terrible, terrible system over there. But they look at when I sit and tell guys that we have guys, but get promoted to master sergeant in 12 years. They're like, what? you know, 11 in my case. But anyhow, I,
Hopefully some naval, senior leaders will, pick up what you're putting down and,
yeah, I tried. I remember
it'd
having the
be,
conversation with Brian Losey when I was his senior warrant over there and I was the Army guy in the Navy base. And he's like, what would you fix? I'm like, you got to get these guys the rank structure that their Army counterpart has. You look at a Navy troop and you look at an Army troop and the Army troop has 5 69s in it. You have one. It's you're losing your experience. You're promoting your experience out of the unit.
sure.
So, um, favorite job you ever had in the Army? Best job, most satisfying to you. And I think I know what it's going to be, but I may be
I
way
may
wrong.
surprise you.
Okay.
You know, best job, the most rewarding job for me was my last job.
Really?
And that was being able to go out there and um, be the commandant general, U.S. Army Alaska. Try to operationalize that like other previous commanders did. And fortunately, um, phenomenal now at now the 11th Airborne Division, Arctic Warriors. And I just had an opportunity to take all my experiences, lessons learned within the soft community. And I've, sprinkled bigger Army jobs, had other Army jobs, post, but just being able to circa 2017 to 2019 just changed the way they did things there. I just went and asked a lot of questions early on. Why do we do this? Why are we having all these meetings? What's the speed? Is it kind of information or is it decision from our higher headquarters? And oftentimes it was also do these because we've always done. Um,
Not a great answer.
yeah, and I was just, and I was like playing Ricochet Rabbit, all these crazy meetings, anyway, so I didn't want to be there and come in there and break glass. I wanted to learn and kind of get an appreciation, the breadth and depth of my new duties and responsibilities. But I also knew I had an opportunity to develop and coach and mentor junior leaders. Um, so we kind of turned things around a little bit, and I got the default thing. Don't like change sometimes, so it's I was trying to bring in healthy change, all that stuff that matters versus, I'm just, chasing stats to go ahead and report to your higher headquarters or whatever.
Right.
So it actually never happened before. And I was just like, I enjoy shooting and a lot of people have invested in me and just wanted to make sure our formations, our fire teams, squad leaders, or the squads, the platoons had the similar kind of foundation. So I went ahead and identified we have this we have a shooting program. How are we and what happens is, traditionally have folks with past experiences, they just get new duty assignments, they go with their experiences and they share their experiences. And anyway, sometimes you find out making you got 10,000 bad reps and then all of a sudden that's populated across your formations and we're just teaching these young men and women bad habits.
Bad habits.
And I had mentioned Sam Joseph. He introduced me a long time ago to John Shaw, legacy competitive shooter, back in the day. And I mean, started off doing competitive shooting and, shooting bowling pins. I mean, of course,
Right.
they're morphed and look at it now. Uh, John had a place out in Bigerman, Idaho, Shaw shooting. I went out there before, exposed to it, duck hunting, and just saw the breadth and depth. And predominantly, they serve formations, special operations community, and law enforcement professionals, etc. Um, said, hey, I got to find a way to just teach junior leaders kind of what right looks like. And called John, and very fortunate, but I was able to send 10 young, senior specialists or 10 brand new sergeants, E5s, spent a 5-day pistol carbine training curriculum, did that like 10 or 11 times, so invested in 100, these young junior leaders so they can go back and invest in their folks. And all of a sudden now we've just introduced, clean and healthy, new blood into our formation so they can, hopefully that can expand and grow. And so we also, I say that kind of a little spinoff. I mean, that was just, I take a lot of pride in that. And also get folks away from the installation on TDY, treating them like, big boys, saying, hey, I believe in you. Just come back better
You left.
than you left.
And share it.
And then I was like, hey, Alaska's huge, right? I mean, got all these different formations from all different services and at the federal spaces up there, agencies and whatnot. My dream that I was trying to pursue and actually, got there pretty much was trying to create kind of a common operational picture for the state of Alaska.
Got it.
Because we're all chopping at certain trees but if we could just chop at one collective tree with a common operational picture, and everybody said, hey, something's gone to shit, rally at checkpoint one. We'll have one checkpoint one versus,
Everybody has their
15,
own.
20 of them.
Right.
And then I was, talking to a couple of the retired NCOs that are GS employees within the staff, just some great human beings. I said, hey, have we ever, hosted like a two-gun match out here in Anchorage at Joint Base Elmendorf Richardson? And because really love to bring in some of the federal agencies that are here, and Alaska State Troopers and Anchorage PD, and kind of force and function where
Right.
people can meet each other. And so, long story short, we ended up doing one. It was awesome. It was the first time it was ever done. Um, Great competition. Couple of trusted, empowered, non-commissioned officers that kind of set up some really cool stages, and just all these little wins that mattered. And the good news is, after I had left, they kept moving out with it too.
So
So
it didn't go away. They kept pressing on with
it
it.
didn't go away. I don't know if all the meetings came back, but I was, yeah. I mean, hey, I did not want anybody to go ahead, and I wanted to be able to go and do what I wanted to do to influence the formation, to get around and not just be, literally choked out by meetings Monday through Friday. And I just didn't have any
No, nothing will kill.
bandwidth.
Oh, you're right. Especially meetings with no purpose. Yeah. That's something dead set against. And if you have a meeting that everybody walks in and goes, who called this meeting or why are we in this meeting? That tells you don't have a meeting, right? So no, I'm
Yeah.
with you there.
I mean, purpose and the whys. I mean, the default thing, I raised the bullshit flag.
Now there's some, and we'll agree just for everybody, neither of us are against meetings,
Not at all.
but they've got to have purpose. And the example I'll give, uh, the first thing I invoked with my team here, and I took it right from the business we came from, is every Monday morning, I get a cub. I get a commander's update briefing. And I go through around the horn with all my key leaders. They bring me up to date. And then at the conclusion of that, I give my guidance and my directive. And everybody walks out Monday morning where I know what I need to know. And everybody walks out of there and knows my priorities for the week. So if I get run over by a bus, if I get run over by a truck, they know the near, the long range priorities and what has to happen this week to be a success. We all walk out of there on the same page. And I'll tell you, the biggest feedback I got on annual reviews is not a single person that works under me doesn't know what they're supposed to be focused on. Now, do I need 15 other meetings to reinforce that? Hell no. But you do need meetings that are in collaborative events. We know that. And the biggest thing I find is for us, the biggest time we need meetings is when it's involving people outside of this brand. We're bringing other people in because they don't function like we do and they don't think like we do. And we want to level the bubbles and make sure that we're all on the same page. And it's kind of funny because if you're dealing with a company that has, unfortunately, nobody in it with a military background or some kind of structure, like has really installed structure, it's very frustrating to me. You go there and you're like we'll start off a meeting and the first thing I'm always blown away where I'm doing a Google or a Zoom call and I'll have to stop the meeting and be like, time out. Can everybody identify on the other end of this meeting what your position is? Like who am I talking to?
Sure.
And I've stopped meetings. I'd be like, stop. This meeting's going to stop. There's no counterpart of mine in this meeting, and I need a decision maker. So this meeting is not something I need to be in.
Hey, this is Bruno, and you've been watching the Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. Please don't forget to like and subscribe our podcast, and thanks for watching. Now back to the podcast.
I want to say when General McChrystal came in as a CG, I had about 22 plus years in, 23 years in, and never in my entire time in the JSOC community had I seen somebody level the playing field like him. Eliminate shit that didn't need to happen, focus on stuff that need to be focused on, appoint the right people to be in charge of it. And then all of a sudden we were moving with a purpose. And we got into those days where I remember during some of the surges where between the entire task force with we're prosecuting 7, 8, 9 targets in a night. And I can remember the old days where we'd prosecute one target. So,
My take is with that transition, General McChrystal, um, empowering, trusting subordinate leaders at the sixth level created that framework, do so much more. And, kind of phrase, much is given, much is expected. You're going to be held accountable, good, the bad, and the ugly. Um, but just that trust and that empowerment.
machine. And I'll tell you right now, a guy like me, I think I used this with you last night. We're eating. People ask me if I've ever used drugs, and I'm like, absolutely. It was called JSOC. It was that machine that McChrystal created. I was not under any contract. I was past eligible to retire, and that machine is what kept me in the game for essentially another decade. I mean, it was what the pre 9/11 machine and the post 9/11 machine were two different animals. And the leadership that we had start coming in, and it kept going forward. General Votel, some of the stuff he did, and some of the things that we did with leaders, McCraven and stuff like that. I mean, we got to a point where, not to be an ass about it, but we were not just the force du jour, we were the force. Like anything, I don't care where it was global. We were 2 fights sustained, 1 alert force, and a force going somewhere else. And it was crazy. And I loved it.
And I mean, said the drug, um, you knew each and every day. I mean, just you had awareness. I mean, you had a purpose, no regrets. I loved that time. I loved all the knowledge and all the experience and everything you learn from all those incredible leaders.
Agreed. Anything else you want to talk about?
Now I'm glad we were able to sync up our
Finally.
calendars.
Finally.
Shout out to Samantha because she
Yeah.
was
I appreciate that. No, Samantha from Ironclad, that's a solid shout out to you. Literally, you and me getting our calendar together has been like a 4 or 5 month challenge. And it's funny because I run into you at the Staccato Vegas National SWAT competition. I know you're going to be there, but neither of us have time to do anything like this there.
Sure.
So, Mark, it was great having you. And for those that are listening, I mean, this is one of those podcasts. I hope y'all know, just like when we had Scott Miller and a couple other folks, Clay Hutmacher on here, I'm going to go back and listen to this podcast again, because when you have a guy that commanded at the level he did in the organizations he did for 3.5 decades, on one listen, you're probably going to miss the pearls of wisdom. There's some stuff that is said here that has shaped who I am today as a leader and a person. And it's guys like you that I'll tell you, I remember you were a junior guy, and then I remember saying yes, sir, to you, but much later in our career. And it was commanded respect. What was the movie? It always kicked me off. The Few Good Men were, no, I'm sorry, it was Band of Brothers, and you don't respect the man, you respect the rank. Well, I'll tell you, in our community, you respect the man. I honestly didn't care what rank you wore if you were the man in the room with the knowledge. I don't care if you were a E5 briefing the intel plan. If you owned it, you were the man in the room.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I always loved that. So, Mark, it's a pleasure having you on. We got a couple things for you because we come from that military culture. So I couldn't have a podcast without having my own coin. So, my brother, that is for me.
Thank you, my friend.
Yes. I got a couple other things, and it's kind of funny. Obviously, got to give you a hat because you got to have some swag. And
Love it.
But this is one of our partners, Montana Knife. They make some really great knives. And this little guy here, it's called a mini war goat. And you want to talk about an everyday carry knife that you'll forget you're carrying, but if you need to do God's business, you'll always have it on you. And I know that you're all carry on here, so I'm going to give it to you. And then what I'm going to do is when I send it to you, I'm going to send you a shitload of those jeans that Scott Miller loves. So
I love it.
There you go, brother.
Bruno, thank you so much. I got something, a small token of appreciation. There's a backstory to it. Of course, in the military, I had challenge coins. Clearly, you've built one and made one for your incredible organization here. Left, retired, got involved doing a lot of stuff, invested in people, trying to develop people. And I have, to my time serving with the ultimate problem solvers who excelled in ambiguity, can operate anywhere our nation asks us to, kind of mirrored, put a little Rubik's Cube here, little red, white, and blue. Though I didn't have space for the 5 words, I do have lead, share, adapt, and grow on it. And on the backside, the big American flag, it says thank you. So a small token of
thank you, brother.
Almost.
Come here. Thank you. No, I appreciate it. And Mark, I hope that I talked about the mileage. I talked about our age. I'm hoping that guys like me, you, Scott Miller, Norm Houghton, and all the names we talked about at dinner last night, that we're able to just keep pressing on. And I think the biggest thing that we do is we continue to mentor people, and I don't care in what capacity it is. And that's what I love about our community. It never stops. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing with me. I think we did another successful job of staying away from the war porn, which is hard for me to do when I get a guy like you. That's why we had dinner last night. But
set up some boundaries.
Yeah. And we got to talk about it without anybody listening.
Right,
so it was kind of cool. We did do the way back when together. But anyhow, I'm going to take you to lunch. We're going to have a good time. And everybody, thank you for watching the Hot Wash by Born Primitive. Another great guest, and you'll probably eventually see him again on here with us. So have a great day.
I hope so too. Keep being great.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Hot Wash by Born Primitive Tactical. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow us at Born Primitive Tactical. I'll see you next time.